I can hear it.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, I hear you.
Hey guys, welcome to the live stream. Ben Swann live. Came on, it looked like there was an earthquake going on in here, but I think we're okay. Welcome to the live stream. We're streaming across platforms right now. We're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on X, of course, and the audio coming across X Spaces tonight. And I'm so excited because here in studio, we don't get to do a lot of in studios, but here in studio we have Mel K, host of the Mel K Show. Great to have you here, Mel.
Great to be here. What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive indeed. We have a lot to get to tonight, so let's just jump right into it. First of all, a host of the Mel K Show. You're on Rumble Monday through Friday.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about the show, just to make sure people who are watching it say, Mel K, I know I've heard the name, but tell us a little bit about it.
Well, you know, I really like to put together history that I feel we haven't gotten the truth about our history since at least World War II, if not well before then.
Sure.
So I try to put together the dots of where we are, how we got here, and what is happening geopolitically the best I can from my own point of view. But also at the same time, I want people to remain hopeful and to be their own heroes. A lot of people right now are looking around for answers or thinking somebody's going to save us, and that's not going to happen. So I try to encourage people to be the hero in their own life and in their own journey right now.
I love that. I tell my kids all the time, nobody is coming to save you, except for me, but nobody else is coming to save you. So
Right.
You got to be able to figure it out, right, for yourself. You got to be able to figure out how to move forward. And you're right. I mean, people have to become the hero of their own story. I want to get more into this history stuff with you. I'm a big history buff myself. And you have a book out. I want to get this right. It's a new book, right?
Yeah.
It's called Infiltration Instead of Invasion. And it talks about how all these different institutions throughout our society have been infiltrated over the years. You want to give us a little bit of that?
Sure. I mean, what I really looked at, I've been on a tour for years speaking out against the UN and globalism and all of that.
Yeah.
And I would start my speeches a lot with JFK's 1961 speech to the press, where he talks about a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy and that it was infiltration instead of invasion. And I think, what exactly in 1961 was JFK exactly talking about? And I started really digging in. I went through a lot of D-class, a lot of CIA stuff, and what I really realized was that we were deceived, I believe, in the end of World War II, to believe that the Allies won and the world would go on and we were all great and better, and really I think we were betrayed, like I said, by especially the Dulles brothers. And, you know, we were always told Switzerland was neutral. Switzerland was not neutral. Switzerland was maintaining the continuity of the financial system worldwide, and it did not cut off Nazi Germany. It did not cut off anything. And frankly, what I realized was that it was our own, basically, Wall Street bankers and lawyers that were in Switzerland creating the supranational financial structure that has become a parasitic supranational architecture above all our countries that we're only seeing now. And I kind of deconstructed. It's actually called Infiltration Instead of Invasion, America Betrayed, 1944 to 1954, because what I have found is that in the end of World War II, right before Hitler surrendered, there was a big meeting in France, and it was all the bankers from Nazi Germany and Himmler, but it was also all of these international institutions and financiers. They were called internationalists at the time, like the Rockefellers, the guys from IG Farben, all these multinational corporations. And the linchpins there were Alan Dulles, who ended up with the CIA, but his OSS. He was in Switzerland the entire time. And his brother, John Foster Dulles, was there representing multinational corporations that basically had one foot in Germany and one foot in America. They were from Sullivan and Cromwell. So they were Wall Street lawyers, end up going to Switzerland, and then the Bank of International Settlements, which a lot of people don't understand, that I try to explain what it is in the book, was also run by an American. And basically, I believe that along with the Nazis and the Bank of England, that the Dulles brothers created the supranational structure that right now I believe we are fighting. And that from that point on, the State Department, the CIA, probably USAID, National Endowment for Democracy, were no longer American institutions. I believe after the Dulles brothers came in and John Foster Dulles took over the State Department, it became a tentacle of the global architecture that is essentially the world order of finance. And that's been where we are, and I believe that's what we're kind of pulling out right now, because it's my belief that the intelligence agencies, particularly the CIA, MI6, and likely Mossad, don't work for us either. I think they were created to protect the international banking cartel and the global public-private partnership that now, the Epstein case and the files have shown you this, but it's not that hard to see when you put the names together and connect the dots that we were captured long ago. And after World War II, I think essentially everything we were taught about our history in America is a lie. It really has been used to protect the supranational infrastructure from us.
When you keep referring to this supranational infrastructure, you're talking about the World Bank, the IMF, the International Bank of Settlements, right? You're talking about these global financial institutions. Obviously, the U.S. Federal Reserve, right?
Yes.
Isn't federal.
Yes.
And has nothing in reserve.
And it's not a reserve, right?
But we know that it is a standalone entity that does not answer to any president, and it certainly does not answer to the American people. We know that here. But globally, this is something that is obviously much bigger than one country, much bigger than the United States. We've watched the IMF batter and control countries. I mean, what we've just seen out of Argentina with Milei in Argentina is he was able to break away from the IMF and their control, but Argentina was held captive for so long by the IMF.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever read the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman, but I mean, that is what they do. The truth is that what people need to understand about the Bank of International Settlements, the World Bank, IMF, the Fed, they all gave themselves immunity. There's the International Organization Immunity Act. This is also a Dulles brother move. International Organization Immunity Act of 1945 gave the Bank of International Settlements absolute immunity, meaning it could never be audited, they can never investigate, they can't do any legal action against them, and frankly, it's completely opaque. And I believe that all of the money in Nazi Germany went through there and was funneled out all over the world in the end of, before Hitler surrendered, at this meeting they had, essentially they were saying they were figuring out a way with the Bank of England, the Bank of International Settlements, Wall Street, and the Reich Bank, how to get the billions and billions and billions of dollars they made during World War II out of Germany before they surrendered and funnel it to the rest of the world. So it was going through Italy, it was going through Argentina. A lot of that money came here. A lot of that money went overseas. But to this day, and right now there is an investigation, Grassley has been under the radar pushing it forward, but Milei and Grassley and a whole bunch of people are trying to look into where all the money went. Because the other thing about the International Organization Immunity Act is they didn't only give it to the Bank of International Settlements and the IMF and the World Bank, they gave it to 63 other banks in the world that they own. And then they extended it to include the UN and 76 organizations connected to the UN. So all of these global organizations to this day still have immunity. And I don't know how that's possible, but they cannot be audited, they cannot be investigated. The people that work for them can. They don't get stopped at the borders. They live a supranational existence. So when everyone's talking about, oh, it's Israel or it's China or it's Russia or it's this, I believe that this infrastructure that was built post-World War II doesn't have an allegiance or alliance to any nation, to any people, to any religion, to anything. They are literally power for power's sake, and it is a parasitic drain on all of our resources. And frankly, if COVID didn't go so badly for them, it would have gotten much worse. But obviously, COVID did not work out, I don't think, the way that they hoped. And a lot of people woke up and said, how's the whole world moving in lockstep? There has to be something. You know, we talk about the deep state. Unfortunately, I believe the deep state is global. And the idea that MI6 and CIA are two different organizations doesn't ring true for the research I've done. It really does look like in the wake of World War II, while we were celebrating, I guess, winning something, like I always say, Germany might have lost, but I don't think the Nazis lost. And I also don't think that I think we've come up with a caricature of what the Nazis were, what these people were, the Bolsheviks, what they were. But to this day, it is the National Socialist Workers' Party was Nazism. And it's not guys wearing uniforms walking goose-stepping behind Hitler. It is an ideology of totalitarianism where there is no dissent. There is no, it's a eugenics-based. They don't want people living like that. And what you're seeing, particularly with the Epstein files, is that's how these people speak to each other. And they have always spoken like that. So when I look back, I really think that Eisenhower, on his way out, when he warned us about the military-industrial complex and all of that, he knew that Wall Street had essentially taken over the military-industrial complex. And once that happened and war became a profit center, I frankly believe that they planned World War III by the end of World War II to happen now. So everything we've seen with Ukraine, everything we saw with Russiagate, a lot of this was about do not veer from the Kissinger, Brzezinski, Dulles plan, because the World War III, I feel like, was the final grab when they finally had the technology to actually run a technocratic global governance system. That coincided with essentially where we are right now, and Donald Trump winning in 2016, I think, was a big disaster for the people that had planned the Third World War to consolidate power once and for all.
Because it seems they certainly were moving toward that.
Oh, yeah.
I think I remember J.D. Vance is getting a lot of play again, saying, if you don't want your sons and daughters to be drafted into a war, if you don't want them to be sent off to war, vote for Trump, right? Now, obviously, here we are, less than 2 years into this term, we're at war.
Yeah.
And we are in a war right now that it seems, I don't want to say Trump was dragged into it. He's a big boy, and I don't think anyone makes Donald Trump do anything. But he certainly seems to have been persuaded into it, because at least the Donald Trump on the campaign trail does not match the person who's in the White House right now and the things that he's saying.
Yeah, well, first with that, I do think that we're in a very unique situation in terms of looking at past wars, because what is happening right now is that every region of the country, because Kissinger and Brzezinski and all these people that created the grand chessboard, and the people behind Project for a New American Century, which was a disaster, and also how we got here, that's Rumsfeld, Cheney, those people, we've never had a situation where every region has to worry about their own backyard. And this is a very unique situation where we just had the Shields of America event, right, at Doral.
That's right.
So all these guys show up from South America. Then we have what's going on in Iran in the Middle East. Then we have what's going on in the South China Sea. Then we have what's going on in Ukraine. And nobody can really take an eye, and Russia can take an eye off of their own region, because every region right now kind of has to decide their own destiny going forward. And, to me also, I think that what is being pulled out, and this is hard to say, but I honestly believe that the CIA operations in all of the countries that Trump is going into, the regime change operations, if you know about South America and the United Fruit Company and the Dulles brothers and the Rockefellers, they really captured South America. And then if you look at Venezuela, there was a huge, obviously, CIA operation there, big one in Cuba, big one in Iran. It seems to me that the tentacles of the supranational intelligence agency are being pulled out from the bottoms, because I don't think any of these countries were organically became what they were. I think that they are hubs of the international banking cartel, and they are protected by the international intelligence agencies and have been all these years. I frankly think the CIA has never worked for the United States of America, and frankly, we've paid for a lot of things that we would be ashamed of. Particularly if you look at National Endowment for Democracy or USAID. Like, who are we? And this is why the American people have to decide right now what they want. 250 years is, pretty much how long an empire lasts. I don't think we ever were meant to be an empire, first of all. Second of all, if you go back to George Washington's farewell address, and he's very clear, parties are going to end up just being parties fighting each other, and the people won't matter. Don't let anyone outside, no foreign influence inside America, and we don't get involved in any other countries, inner workings. Sovereign nations are sovereign.
Correct.
So a lot of this stuff was thrown out the window, I believe, to get us to go into, by false pretenses, World War I, where the model of war for profit became the model for the world in banking. And the fact that we give $900 million or $1 billion, whatever we're giving now, to the military out of taxpayer money, and they are also traded on Wall Street, is something we should all be a little bit disgusted by.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back for a second. You said something that caught my attention. So Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, are you saying that the CIA was propping those countries up as they currently are? Or is it the other way around? Because my understanding is, like, for instance, Iran does not have a Rothschild bank in it. Russia does not have a Rothschild bank in it. The countries where we see war is being brought to their doorstep in this moment. We're being told it's for 1,000 different reasons. Banking never comes up, and yet there are common denominators in these countries.
Right, right. And that's the thing, is that they were endless regime change operations, but I also believe that they were used for black ops trafficking. I think that, and especially if you look at Epstein's Island and you know about the Clinton Global Initiative Island, they had this island challenge with Branson, right?
Yes.
I think that they've used these different nodes that are always in trouble. You know, there's always something going on in Iran. For 47 years, we're told every 2 weeks that Iran's going to have a bomb and bomb the world. Whatever with Cuba as well. I think that a lot of these are hubs for black ops and trafficking, and they have paid off, likely, the people in power. You know, when they find out that Khomeini is worth $200 billion, or, you know, this happened also with Arafat, with the PLO. He died, he's worth billions of dollars. I wonder how much Zelensky is worth. So what I'm saying is I think that there's now they call themselves the steady state, but the deep state of what it is not, I don't believe, an American entity.
Right.
I believe that it is to protect the banks, and that is who goes into these countries, foments chaos, in order to distract from their operations they've been having going on since World War II, which are trafficking guns, human beings, drugs, and weapons, and bigger weapons.
I think if there is a opportunity for people to see that in real time, there isn't a better example than Ukraine, right? Ukraine becomes this almost perfect storm of human trafficking, the biolabs that are there and the experimentation that's being done, the trafficking of weapons. We know that so many weapons traveled from Ukraine into Mexico, into Latin America, and really all over the world, right? The vast majority of weapons that we sent to Ukraine did not get to Ukraine.
No.
That is a fact, and yet we're not sure where they are, right? They're dispersed all over the place. So I think it's a great example of that. At the same time, there is a vast amount of money flowing into the country, right? And then it's all vanishing and disappearing. And we alluded to this earlier during our newscast, but there is a lot of talk about now reports that Lindsey Graham himself, the senator from South Carolina, was receiving huge payments into these different countries and holding
no
accounts.
doubt. I mean, remember them? They were watching the Maidan Revolution live from Ukraine. Him, John McCain, Amy Klobuchar, all the people from the Ukraine embassy, which was dirty to the core. The whole Russiagate, literally, from everything from 2016, from the day Donald Trump won forward, I believe was to cover up what they were planning in Ukraine. We have to go back to Bill Clinton and expanding NATO when you think about this, because it's my belief, looking into, and I've done a lot of work looking into the background of Soros and his actions in Europe. And one thing we have to remember is that in 1993, Soros put out, this is when he's spreading all over Europe. He's opening, you know, NGOs and all that. And this NGO model is actually the Rockefeller Foundation model that everyone's gone after. These are global foundations. A lot of them have immunity somehow because they're connected in one tentacle or another. But it appears to me that, so in 1993, George Soros writes a document. It's still on the Open Society. It's called NATO World Order, written by George Soros. At this point, what is happening is that Reagan and Gorbachev and James Baker, they're agreeing never to expand NATO.
Right.
NATO was only there because of Russia. They all agree. George Soros is a big influence on Bill Clinton. He comes in, he writes this NATO World Order document, then another Dulles operation over there, Council of Foreign Relations. Brzezinski then, in 95, writes another document about turning NATO into basically the world military, which is what I believe it to be. And then right after that, out of nowhere, for no reason really, if you look into it and look at the reasons, Clinton bombs Yugoslavia, okay?
Yes.
Accidentally hits the Chinese embassy in Yugoslavia, and in exchange opens the World Trade Organization to China. I mean, what I think that this was, if you look at Brzezinski's work and read his, I think him and Kissinger are probably the architects of this, but when you look at Brzezinski's work, the grand chessboard and then the technocratic age and all of that, you're seeing it. So when I look at the end of World War II and the funneling out of money and the idea that they were going to keep the money for the Fourth Reich, and then you look at what's going on now, what was the goal of the Third Reich? It was to get rid of Russia, have a unified Europe that controls the world financially, essentially, between Brussels and Geneva, using the United States military, essentially, as their military through NATO. And basically, this worked pretty well until 2016. because in 2014 we all know that Obama okayed the overthrow of the duly elected president of Ukraine, which has been hidden from most people. And it was like they went for it because I think that they had been arming Ukraine since the 90s. George Soros and his NGOs were embedded in Ukraine from the 90s. You had Samantha Power and a lot of globalists over there manipulating. So I have to really say the lies about Ukraine also connect to Russiagate, because Trump was getting in the way of the plans that they had to once again try to destroy Russia, unite Europe under one. You hear that? I can't believe this maniac Callas is like in the front row there, the Estonian woman that's talking about, like, you have no chance of doing such a thing. But it is still the same Third Reich goal. It is a unified Europe. And again, the EU, when people say EU is our ally, we paid for the EU. The Marshall Fund was a total fraud run by this guy, Guido Goldman, who essentially paid for the EU. And then the World Economic Forum. Well, Henry Kissinger recruited Klaus Schwab at Harvard when he was at the Kennedy School to start the World Economic Forum.
Yeah.
They have been building since the 90s this world order using the EU as the international banking cartel's, government, essentially. And I believe that they've been arming and training CIA and others, probably MI6 as well, for World War III in Ukraine for decades. And all of a sudden Trump comes in, and as you notice, the minute that Blinken and Biden and Sullivan and the worst, what's her name, Victoria Nuland, and her husband Kagan was NATO. As soon as they had the opportunity, they went full steam ahead back with the plan for World War III. And I think the end goal for World War III, after they destroy Europe again and collect the trillions of dollars to rebuild Europe again, the solution would be Agenda 2030, full track and trace surveillance, technocratic control on a global scale. And I think that's what we're in the way of now, and it's a dangerous time because these people do have all the money and they do have all the power, and I believe that NATO is the world military. And I think we've been greatly deceived in the United States to not only play along with it, but the people of this country have paid for it all. We didn't just pay for the Cold War the war on terror. The American taxpayers paid for the entire globalism operation as well. You want to know where our $21 trillion is? There. And I think if anyone can do something about this immunity, and we open the black books of the old Bank of International Settlements, IMF, World Bank, we would be horrified at how much money has been looted and we have been lied to. I mean, the UN has been developing nations in Africa for decades. None of them have developed that they even have energy.
Right.
You see Israel is barren, desert, but they have flowing water and crops and cattle. Well, that could be everywhere. It's just all been a lie. It has been a money laundering operation at the expense of the middle class, I think, in the entire Western world.
Well, and to your point, if you look at Africa as a continent, the vast resources that are there, more so than really any other region in the world, right, as a continent. And to your point, I mean, nothing.
No.
The massive amounts of treasure have been spent on bringing Africa, along, these African nations, bringing them along, and nothing ever happens.
They could have at least faked it.
Does
have
nothing.
some energy, some clean water, some growing,
All they've done is bring them vaccines to, inoculate the people, and instead they sterilize them
and
all.
have them go work in mines, dig
and
out
have them
things
work
that
in
we
mines.
want.
That's right.
And the
That's
Belt
right.
and Road Initiative and everything else. I mean, I don't know if there's good guys or bad guys right now on the chessboard. I just think that there's a lot of people that are stuck in the past and unwilling to say maybe there's a better way forward.
There does seem to be resistance, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, resistance to the globalists, and it's only a few countries, right?
Yeah.
And it's countries like Iran, right, which has not been a part of this globalist movement.
No.
Iran has its own problems. That's not to say it's a bastion of, democracy and it's wonderful and a utopia, and certainly by no means. And then the Russians have also been very anti-globalist, and Putin himself is very anti-globalist, and clearly has become more so as time's gone on. Remember, there's a famous story about Putin going to Bill Clinton and saying that he wants Russia to join NATO at one point, right? And then, of course, they rejected that, wouldn't allow it to happen. Well, now, 20-some years later, 30-some years later, Putin is still in power, and Putin looks at globalists with this hatred, right? He despises the globalists.
They betrayed Russia many times.
Many times.
And I think we have to keep...
But why not work with Russia?
I don't know.
If this is the plan of this cabal, why wouldn't they just work with the Russians? Bring them into the fold.
Well, if you go back and you think about, remember the Rand documents that said and this is, again, goes back to the Council of Foreign Relations, Chatham House, Brzezinski, Kissinger, this whole kind of Hunger Games vision they had for the future, the technocratic age.
Yeah.
What I do see when you're talking about Iran or China or Russia or America, these are countries that are unwilling to give up their sovereignty.
Yeah.
And right now, I think the war is about, on the global stage, is nations that want to maintain their sovereignty, their borders, language, culture, history, against those that want global governance. And they are ready for it. They built trillions of dollars have gone into Agenda 2030 since Obama signed us onto it in 2015 with Samantha Power and Susan Rice, all these globalists. And they're not Americans. They're not. And that's the problem with America right now. We look at these companies like Disney or Nike or Google as American companies. They're not. They are global public-private partners of something that is supranational that should never have existed. And we have been, and if we're going to pull that apart, a lot of things really have to change. And like you're saying, I was excited when Putin and Trump met up there in the Arctic Circle and all that.
In Alaska.
And what happened that day? They elevated Larry Fink the same exact day to the top of the World Economic Forum. Same day, not an accident. So, what we're dealing with now are nation states that will not give up their sovereignty versus those that want a global, I think, technocratic world run essentially by Palantir. And if you look at Palantir and you look at the Bilderberg Group, they have a lot of similarities. So you can say, because China and Russia are very much at the top level when you go to Davos, they're treated like that. China's very powerful at the UN, but the question is, how much power do they have, and what necessity are they fulfilling? Nothing. And to me, I would love to see everyone just take a step back and realize that everything we were taught after World War II was basically to loot and launder all of our taxpayer dollars into endless wars for profit because the money is in the reconstruction. And I think right now the Great Reset was really about that they are losing power, the fiat currency model isn't working, the COVID operation kicks off, they're going to go and they're going to tell us that we now have to go to all digital currency, now we have to tokenize nature. I mean, it's all BS. It's just the whole model failed, and I believe World War III and the Reconstruction was the solution. And then the post-solution would be, now we all have to be on Agenda 2030 and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are only sustainable for the powers that be that run the international banking system.
So Trump obviously becomes a problem for that World War III scenario. He became a problem for it in 2016, then became a problem for it again in 2024. Right? It seems like they basically accepted that they lost 4 years. By the time they hit 2020, they ramped it up under Biden, and the same cast of characters comes back again, pushing us full speed. Trump gets elected specifically, explicitly for the purpose of not getting us into World War III.
I know.
And yet here we are. Do you think the current situation that we were fooled, we were tricked by Trump, or is Trump still avoiding that? Because there's a couple of interesting developments. You got the war in Iran happening.
Right.
While that's happening, it looks like Trump is dropping sanctions on Russian oil. Right? There's a phone call just a day ago between Trump and Putin, in which they're talking about how to end both the Ukraine war and the war in Iran. Russia came out today with Putin saying he'll do whatever he can to help to facilitate an end to this as quickly as possible. So it doesn't feel like, despite the fact the media wants to put space between them, there actually isn't a lot of space between Trump and Putin on this right now. Does that continue to throw a wrench into this plan?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like the best thing that could happen for the world right now, in my opinion, would be Putin and Trump to go have a meeting, just go inside for 2 hours. They don't even have to talk to each other and come out with, we're going to maintain our nation's sovereignty against this global movement for global governance, no matter what. We might not agree on everything, but we are never giving up our nation's sovereignty for a global government. That is what is going on right now. I firmly believe BlackRock and Vanguard and all of them, Larry Fink running the World Economic Forum isn't an accident in my mind. I think the American people should be disgusted at what we have allowed to happen with Wall Street and these international groups, because not only does BlackRock control basically all of our public pensions in America, it also controls all the public pensions essentially everywhere. And then you look at Palantir and you look at Brzezinski's technocratic age and technocracy. Well, isn't that what we're dealing with? And nobody's talking about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, our sovereignty, our borders in cyberspace, which is what's going to matter in the future. So right now, it seems to me, Trump is being, I mean, all I can think is that I still think Trump has more in common with those that want to keep their nation states sovereign and those that want to maintain their borders, their culture, than he does with the globalist. But at the same time, I do believe that there are things going on of pulling out that post-World War II trafficking, black ops, ugly, because we know what happened in Afghanistan with the poppy. We all have learned about the opium wars. We know all of that. If we had honest people and not, the Project for New American Century deciding that they wanted full spectrum dominance militarily of the world, can you imagine what a different world we would have right now? We have a chance to pivot. And it's just so many people are financially invested in staying on the track of the World War III / Agenda 2030. I mean, they're losing power, but I don't think they put Larry Fink in that position I think it's a signal that they're going to keep going that route. It's going to be up to the people of nations. It's going to be local action. It's going to be stop counting on DC. It's a cesspool. It's not salvageable. We have to start realizing that the American people have one shot to save their country, and it can't be about DC. It can't be about Donald Trump.
Yeah. Well, no, it certainly cannot be about Donald Trump. Donald Trump, obviously another big part of where he campaigned and won in 2024 and also in 2016 was on his discussion of the immigration issue. And specifically, there's a big difference between immigration and what happened from 2020 to 2024, right? That was a direct assault on American sovereignty.
Totally.
And the rabid importing of about 10 million people for the purpose, it seemed, of destabilization.
Yeah.
Right. I think most people see that. I think most people understood that. Trump obviously ran on that idea. Now, he is, I think, by the end of this year on track to deport about 1.4 million people. But he's also leaning heavily away from discussions of deportation, and even as recently as today, put out word to Republican senators and lawmakers, stop talking about mass deportation.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think it's because, A, the optics of it, B, these people were used as weapons against us, the people. See, this is why, but in 2020, I found this document that was really outrageous, and this is why I think NATO should have been disbanded a long time ago. I think has not ever been a defensive force, and frankly, right now, it is the globalists and the international banking cartels military, I have no doubt. But they put out a document about cognitive warfare and the battle for your brain. And they convinced a lot of these people to come up here and to be on the caravans and all that and promised them everything, where essentially they were using human beings as weapons. There was nothing humane about opening our border.
Correct.
And what they did to those people and, losing at least 300,000 unaccompanied minors. We know what's happening to that. There is a slavery issue right now in America. We want to believe all people are good. Well, that's not true. And there are many people in this country right now who legitimately have slaves, and not just sex slaves, all kinds. These people were used as weapons against us without any consideration for them being human beings. And so you look at the whole migration map from the UN and what all the different NGOs, our biggest problem in America right now is that we have the Rockefeller model of NGOs has exploded so much that the one place we can actually make a difference is to cut off that money, that funding, that fed this. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of the people that came across our border are victims. They're victims of this global governance to collapse the West. And I think a big part of it, too, was the Cloward-Piven strategy of collapsing our social, architecture that was put together to be a safety net with all these people coming in. And then it's creating friction between those that are here and those that came here. And it's like it's nobody's fault. All these people, including here, were used as weapons against each other to collapse the West, particularly the United States. When Trump used to go out and, they're not after me, they're after you, I'm in the way, I'd be like, no, they're not after America, they're after the world. America, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Republican form of government. We're not a democracy. The people are still supposed to have power. But we've been turned into, since Bill Clinton, but obviously both Bushes were involved, Clinton, Obama, Biden, all globalists. And I believe that they all planned for the global world because they all started opening global NGOs in the last 10, 15 years, including Jeffrey Epstein.
That's right.
And a big part of that was planning for global governance. And frankly, trillions of dollars have been put into this full track and trace surveillance technocracy. I mean, China's a technocracy. It's not
absolutely.
a communist country.
That's right.
And the same people that built that are building it here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what is freedom at this point? What is sovereignty? I think, what are Nazis? You know, and then you see like the Democrat Socialists of America. They're radical Marxist revolutionaries, but somehow they're running the Democratic Party and nobody's even saying anything about it. Or you're seeing what's happening with a lot of these races. Both candidates, I mean, we have a kakistocracy. We have like the least qualified, the most unscrupulous criminals running our country. Frankly, I would love Doge to do a full people's audit of every single person in the House and Senate, every person from 2020 to 2024, because trillions of dollars left this country during the Biden, I call it, but the Biden auto pen administration. DC was a crime scene for 4 years. And you talk about you know...
it's kind of you to only make it 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a crime scene for decades.
For a long time.
But for those 4 years, there was no one mining the Treasury or any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, that auto pen administration, if you look at them, you had Donilon, who's a BlackRock guy, you had Goldman guys in the back. It was really run by the international banking and military. And they were going full steam ahead.
But it's so serious and it's so real and it's so dangerous that Doge was disbanded. Elon Musk says they'll kill me if we actually reveal what we're finding. And if we keep looking, we'll all be dead, right? Because I think he understood just how serious it was. The crazy thing is that Doge was probably the most popular thing that's been introduced in Washington in decades.
I know.
And it was gone like that.
Well, that's because there are so many criminals that are, you know, these NGOs, it's such a scam. It's such a scam. And, you know, they've been investigating the Rockefeller Foundation, the Ford Foundation, and the Carnegie Institute since the 30s for subverting the will of the people, and nothing ever happens. You got Brookings, you got the Atlantic Council, you got all these, even Rand. What are these people doing? These people are undermining the voice and the vote of the people, and they have been for decades. They call them civil society. No, they undermine our country. How do they have 501c3, 501c4 for these? They make billions of dollars. They get it from all over the world. And you know what? Their whole goal is to invalidate the voice and the vote of the individual American citizen. And, you know, this has been going on for so long. And it's just, Trump just brought the spotlight onto how devastating I would say the military-industrial complex and their relationship with Wall Street has been for this nation, because endless wars for profit became the solution. And that's where we are, and I think we are dealing with that right now.
Without question. There are a lot of people in a very fractured MAGA base now. And MAGA's essentially over, right?
Yes.
That's gone.
I would say so.
Yeah. You've got the neocons now call themselves MAGA. They don't call themselves neocons. They just call themselves MAGA.
Right.
And then the MAGA coalition becomes libertarians, go back to their title, independents go back to their title, and then the Republicans that remain are now America First.
Yeah.
Right? We have this very fractured coalition. Trump will probably not be able to do much for the next 2 years after the midterms, because I would anticipate that with this war in Iran, they're going to lose the House. They may lose the Senate. It's trending that way. But certainly they're going to lose the House. At that point, what can you even get done? But you know what, Mel, the thing is? So many people would say, what did you get done when you had it?
Right.
Because you had a shot. You've had it for 2 years, or you will have had it for 2 years, and you've squandered it.
Yeah.
Can't get the SAVE Act put through. The immigration thing's a mess. Doge disappeared, as I said, 5 minutes after he was elected. Like, we're at war with Iran.
Right.
What did you win for?
Right.
So much winning. We keep hearing so much winning. Sure doesn't feel like so much winning.
No, and it's also, I mean, treason and sedition mean nothing in America. I mean, we have to be honest. They murdered JFK in 1963, and every single person that's been involved in the cover-up got promoted. And it's happened every time that there's a issue. We have a fourth branch of government that came out of the Patriot Act, which was written before 9/11. It was just pushed through. I mean, that's the most unconstitutional thing in the world. And it's only gotten worse and worse. So I say, and I wrote a book called Americans Anonymous, because it's our fault. We, the people of the United States, allowed this to happen to our country. And we kind of went in autopilot, and you know, politics became entertainment, which is ironic that Donald Trump, a reality star, is running a reality administration essentially right now. But the truth is that there are no parties. There haven't been parties in decades. Even if you go back and, you know, Bill Clinton said his mentor was Carol Quigley, who wrote Tragedy and Hope. He writes this whole book from the inside, basically being the two parties have to be so similar that, you know, we're talking about 1 or 2 percentage points of a win every time. That's not really, it's just all such a con job. And
the uniparty.
Yeah.
It's just one thing.
But it's always been. I think it's all been a fraud. That's why the thing that's bothered me the most is watching them not go after the financial fraud. So I watched the Epstein case, okay? I've watched it since 2008. JP Morgan should be indicted on multiple levels. JP Morgan should have been indicted in the Madoff case. They should have been indicted in the 2008 crash. They should have been indicted. So we also have to look at why are these lawyers and these bankers that have been involved in all these operations in America, A, they still work. Nothing happens, pay fines, whatever. But also these multinational law firms. All of this model was already in place at the end of World War II. The Dulles brothers set up the State Department to be a tentacle of the global governance. So I just think that we've been deceived, and this State Department and CIA, USAID, National Endowment for Democracy have been running their own operation since World War II, and I don't think they care about us at all. I think they really just want us fighting each other as if we have parties. I don't think we have parties. I think we have a lot of people that are willing to be paid off to participate in something that is totally fraudulent.
Mel, we have a few minutes left here. You said at the beginning, the outset, that you like to leave people hopeful.
Yeah.
So you got to do that, because at this point, this sounds very depressing. I think a lot of people right now are depressed. I think they're depressed with the moment that we're in. I think I just saw Joe Rogan today said, you know, Trump supporters were totally betrayed. They feel betrayed, and they feel like we thought we were voting for something that was really going to break this system, and we feel like the system won.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Well, what I'd say is, A, you're here and I'm here, and there's a lot of people out there that have a voice that the mainstream media no longer has. So that's one. We have the ability to affect public opinion. We also have the ability to tell people, stop looking at D.C. or even at your state capital. What's going on in your own backyard? You think these NGOs and the UN and all isn't embedded all the way throughout this country from top to bottom? Our schools, everything else. The American people still have the freedom to do a lot of things in their own community, in their own sphere of influence. They just have to realize that it's up to them. Nobody's saving you. Nobody's saving America. We are back. I don't even know if the rest of the world, particularly the Crown, even believe that we won the American Revolution. Some people, good friends of mine, even say that we're still in World War II. I mean, just what do we want now? We have somehow, some way, people like you and me and Rogan and Tucker, and you don't have to like everyone, but we have pulled the megaphone away from the intelligence community, which has been running CNN, which has been running Daily News. So what we do have is we have public opinion on our side. We have the ability to say, this cannot be about Trump. It has to be about you. It has to be about your family, your future, your community. We have the opportunity right now, but if we lose the midterms, what is going to happen is they are going to impeach him. I already know. I watched Norm Eisen, all the lawfare people. They're going to impeach him. They're going to impeach the whole cabinet. They're going to throw as many people in jail again as they can because they have allowed the Democrat Party is now the Democrat Socialist of America Party, which is funded by international revolutionary Marxists. And there's no debate about it. The American people have to stand up and get involved where they are and realize that's the real power you have. Because counting on D.C., frankly, I would be fine if they shut the whole thing down. Honestly, I don't think the CIA is salvageable. I don't think it ever worked for us. I think they work in tandem with MI6. Don't forget, Russiagate was a global conspiracy to overthrow the duly elected president of America. There was, like, the UK was just as involved as the United States and Canada.
What all originated there.
Yeah.
The whole thing originated
Oh, totally.
there.
So when you look at that, if the American people have accepted that treason and sedition is not real and we're never going to punish it, and we haven't since the murder of JFK, what have we allowed to happen to this country, and whose fault is it? And I would say it's ours, because we do have power, and I believe that. And because we have wrestled away that megaphone of mainstream media, we have a real shot to get people involved where they are. But we have to stop being lazy, and I don't want to do that. running for office became gladiator. Like, let's bring it back to like good people trying to help their community and supporting them. Like, the whole party thing should just be moot. And frankly, that they didn't go after Act Blue and win red right off the bat, knowing that they're giant money laundering operations that then control who the candidates are. Then we have terrible candidates. It's just the whole system is broken, and the only way we fix it is by getting involved ourselves, but also by supporting people that are doing it as well. Because the one thing that the globalists definitely want right now is America to be apathetic.
Yes.
And there's too many of us that are. So I try to, like you do, I try to give my point of view, but also give things that people will go educate themselves. Because we should, you know, it's not that long ago, maybe 14 years since Andrew Breitbart died. And he had out that book, Righteous Indignation. Every American citizen right now that loves this country, that had people die in wars and family members that sacrificed, we should all be feeling righteous indignation. There are no sides. Everyone equally has been betrayed in a very tactical way since the mine wars and since Operation Paperclip. They've turned us all against each other when we really, at the end of the day, if you like freedom and family in the future, we're all on the same side. We have to just start realizing we're all being played. We've all been betrayed. And we can all come together and take back our own communities. And that's what I hope for.
Mel K of the Mel K Show. Tell people where they can find you. I'm sure they're watching saying, oh my gosh, I got to get more of this.
Well, I have a show every single day on Rumble and X from 12 noon to 1:30 p.m. It's a daily news show. I have my weekend show, which is the Mel K Show, which are long-form interviews. And I have themelkshow.com. Where I have a resource page where I try to put a lot of declassed information so that people understand they can get more involved and they can read for themselves. And once they do, they will be empowered with information that they won't get anywhere else. And information is our weapon. So if people get educated and get information and get involved in their local community, we can save America. If not, and we let it go on autopilot, it's our own fault.
And don't think it's one guy who's going to save you.
Nope.
Doesn't work that way. Mel, it was a pleasure to have you on. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you for joining us for this live stream tonight. I want to remind you, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern, we have very special guest, Colonel Douglas McGregor will be with us. We'll be talking about what is happening in Iran right now and what the path forward looks like, so you want to tune in for that. And when you do see this clip, when we repost the clips for it, or the full show later on after this live stream, please share it and get it out to people. Let them know to check it out, and check out Mel K on her channel on Rumble. I'll see you next time.